I'd like to say good evening to everybody. I want to thank the NAACP of Coweta County and the NAACP of Meriwether County and the city of Grantville for hosting this occasion. It's a good time to get out and tell people about who you are and what you stand for. My name is Carl Von Epps. I'm a 20-year veteran of the Georgia House of Representatives. 20 years is a long time. 20 years has allotted me an opportunity to learn a lot of the ways, learn the people in state government. I am married to my wife, Anita, 5 kids, 4 grandkids, 1 great-grandson. I'm a lifelong resident of Troup County, LaGrange. I graduated from Morehouse College in 1970 with a degree in business administration. Came back home and taught 1 year. I went into business, and I'm still in business for 30 years. I'm an activist, a community activist, involved in helping young people. That's one of my objectives in life, to help people as they travel along the way. I accepted the call into the ministry in the year 2002. I'm a Methodist preacher at Smith Chapel United Methodist Church in Newnan, Georgia, where I'm serving my 6th year. I like helping people. I like giving back. I like making a difference. If I can be of any service to anybody, please feel free to call me.
I'm kind of loud to begin with, so I don't want to be blasting you out, but good evening and the same. I want to thank especially the people that are sitting here that took time out of your schedule. That means a lot. That's what I told them last night. And when you see the community come out because they are concerned and they want to be involved, and that's what we need more of. And I thank Ms. Shirley Hines and the Coweta County. I haven't met the director of Coweta County, but thank for Coweta and Meriwether coming together for this, and the city of Grantville letting us use the facility. It's great. But my name is Gene King, and I originally grew up in Florida, Melbourne, Florida. My family was in the seafood business. We did a lot of commercial fishing. I had it kind of made. I was in a DECA program in high school, so those last 2 years I was always commercial fishing or clamming, and go to school for 2 hours and then go to work. So I've been working ever since I was a teenager. And then I moved to Georgia in '78, and the same year I graduated. I actually moved to Newnan, Georgia. My father came up here with his health conditions, and it seemed to help him breathe better, so I came up here to visit, and I liked it, so I decided to stay in Georgia. But just to give you a little bit of where I've come from and why I think people should always drive to make the best in their lives. 30-some years ago, when I lived in Newnan, I actually lived in a trailer park out in Sargent. Y'all probably know where that's at, but I was renting a little trailer, and the glass was busted out. I had plastic taped up on the windows, and if you remember, there used to be a Weddington Chevrolet in Newnan, and I actually worked at Weddington Chevrolet during the day, and I was the manager of Wendy's at night, and had a little Yamaha 100 I rode around on because I couldn't even afford a car at the time. So to go from there to where I'm at today, I started 1982. I started Coweta Concrete Service. Last month makes 30 years that we've been in business. Since then, in '96, I became a builder in the state of Georgia and built over 300 homes. And then I also opened up Meriwether Ready Mix in Greenville, Georgia. So I've got experience of creating jobs, and I talk too long. I like to see that flag wave, so we'll wait some more tonight.
Thank you both for letting us know a little bit more about yourselves. At this time, we're going to have questions that were given to us earlier. These questions are going to pertain to the legislation as far as the state, and then we're going to ask questions generally about this district. For those who do not know or are familiar with the redistricting of District 132, it includes Coweta, Meriwether County, and Troup County. The district has a population of 53,756 people, and this was after the 2010 census report. 16,280 people are in Coweta County portion, 7,539 are in the Meriwether County portion, and 29,929 are in the Troup County portion. So this gives you an idea of the size of our district. If you've not seen the breakdown on the map, we do have a copy of it in the back on the table. So I do encourage you to go look. You should have received with your voter registration card, because the district did change, it will indicate your district. So if you have not received your current registration card, you should, because in Meriwether County, Mr. Carvin Epps represented the entire county of Meriwether. And so at that point, we didn't have to worry about two different districts. However, because it has changed, you should have received your voter registration card indicating what district you're in, so you'll know what candidates to vote for. If you do not have that, I encourage that you go on the state board, look at it and find out, or call your registrar office. Okay? Thank you. The questions we're going to pose at this time, where both candidates, we ask that you respond to it. You have 1 minute, and then after that, if you need to rebuttal or that, you'll have a minute to do rebuttal. Okay? The first question. As stated by most people running for office this year, education is the key to improving our economy. That being said, what do you plan to propose and or support in the area of skilled training, where most of the jobs in our states are and will be in the future? And also, what is your view on the Go Build Georgia initiative? Mr. Carvin Epps.
Certainly, education is the #1 agenda item from my perspective. Over the last 8 to 9 years, there has been a decrease in flow of monies from the state to the local levels to the tune of 62% of the actual local budget to about 38%. Being on the budget committee, we have got to do better than that, because basically what we've done is we've placed the onus of funding local education on the local entities. So the local school boards are having to cut here, reduce reduce services, additional furlough days. So one of my goals is to encourage, find monies to put back into the budget, to take some of the onerous off of the locals and make sure that our children are educated. Just had a conversation with the West Georgia Technical president. There are a lot of, that's 2 minutes? 1 minute, okay, I'm sorry. All right.
Your flag come up pretty fast, honey.
I'm gonna talk a lot faster this time, but anyhow, on education, I've said for the last time I ran in 08, I will never cut education or law enforcement. Our kids' future is definitely what we'll have for our stable society in the future. But where it does need to be cut is not from the bottom up, but from the top down. If you go online, you'll see there's like 22 people at a higher level of education in the state of Georgia that's doing the exact same job description. So you got to wonder if it really takes that many people to perform those duties. If not, that's where it needs to be cut, because I'm finding that schools do not have music programs, they don't have instruments, they're sharing books, they don't have playgrounds. I've even gone out and donated to do concrete work and so forth, because they don't have these, and it's a shame these kids don't have it. So education needs to be focused on and really find where we can cut the budget and put the money back into education. And as far as Go Bill goes, I'm on the IDA board. We've been working with them in Meriwether County, and we're trying to help people realize that not all kids are fortunate enough to go to college. So the Go Build is a good program. They need to get out here and start learning local trades. We're losing our plumbers, our masoners, carpenters. There's good money to be made there. So I would push that hard on our local kids.
Thank you.
To conclude, I'm a strong supporter of technical education. I'm a strong supporter of K through 12. I'm a strong supporter of college degrees. We have got to incentivize our kids to stay in school. The dropout rate is somewhere in the 69% rate. So we have got to incentivize them to say, go to school, stay in school, graduate, and grow to be a productive citizen in life. Whether you're a college degree or a technical college degree, it's important to get a skill and to be a productive citizen in life. And that's what we try to encourage people each and every day.
Is that what we're supposed
Yeah,
to do?
just
if
a
we-
rebuttal.
Well, I don't really want to rebuttal, but I
Okay.
just thought we had our time limit
That's fine.
and
Then,
but anyhow, the reason I push that so hard is because I've got a 12th grade education. And with a 12th grade education, in 1982, when I started my business, one day I looked in the mirror and I said, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to let nobody stand in my way. There's got to be a lot more to life than just working out here as a laborer or making a few bucks or barely getting by. And I was on welfare food stamps at the time and living in that trailer. So when I made that move to go forward, I never looked back. And ever since I've done that, I encourage school kids that are graduating, that are not going to college, and I work with the community. And I have continuously, for the last 30 years, gave back to the community because I feel that's where I was blessed. The Lord blessed me to have the drive and the motivation. And like Lynn Westmore says, I'm like a bulldog. When I get a hold of something, I don't let it go, and I don't stop until it's completed. And that's just exactly what I plan to do for the kids of this great state of Georgia.
thank you, gentlemen. Since we want to, next question also has to do with education. One of the things that you probably have seen a lot on television and on the local newspaper is the issue about our charter schools. It was just stated yesterday in the Atlanta Constitution that Fulton County School Board and Gwinnett School Board was named as representative of the 180 school district in Georgia. A lawsuit was filed Monday claiming that local school boards in the state has illegally spent taxpayers' money to oppose or propose state constitution amendment about charter schools. This coming November 6th, on the proposal, which will allow the state to create an additional state board with the power to authorize charter schools. Local school boards and the state school board already have that authority. Charter schools are public schools guaranteed a waiver from the district. So we would like to know, what is your position on charter schools? And do you think they have a place in our school system? We know that charter schools can already exist, but what's your position on this new board being authorized so that local schools, if anyone who wants to start a charter school, don't have to go through the local board? If you would like to comment on it at this time.
Yeah, I'm like a lot of y'all. I'm just learning about this amendment referendum that's going to be on the ballot in November. And so, this is something that's already been in the House that they've been discussing and voted on to put it out there for vote. And of course, the people will speak in November. I want to come across, here again, I'm a businessman, and I always think like a businessman and what you can do to move forward. I'm not necessarily saying charter schools is the best thing that could happen for the state of Georgia. It's got pros and it's got cons. But if the school systems would run their school systems and the school superintendents would run themselves like a business and produce educated students, good grade averages, and be getting results for the taxpayers' money, they wouldn't have nothing to worry about because a charter school's not going to pull away from them if they're already doing their job. But in some communities throughout the South Georgia and the rural areas, if the teachers are so laid back and they're just going there for a check and they don't really care about the future of these kids, it may be possible for a charter school to give these minorities and the less fortunate ones to get a better education. So right now, I'm like y'all, I'm learning on it, and we'll see how the people speak come November.
There was a court ruling on charter schools recently that said the state board had no authority to override what the local boards do. I'm for local support. The school board in Coweta County has authority to authorize any charter school that they want to authorize, and it fits under the guidelines of the local board. I don't think that we need to allow some entity in Atlanta to oversee the approval or disapproval of charter schools. It's a local issue, and it should be locally decided. I didn't vote to put it on the ballot because I saw it as a mechanism by which there will be some other avenues to use public dollars for private institutions. A charter school is a public institution, but that's an opening for using public dollars for private institutions. I like the job that they're doing. Some of the school boards may not be living up to all the flexibility, all of the numbers that they're supposed to be, but they're doing a good job, and I support them.
All right, our next questions is pertaining to youth. So I'm gonna make a statement and then the question comes, so kind of setting the thing for you. The prison and gun industry has ranked in billions of dollars this year, all while our communities continue to be destroyed by the disastrous effect. Young men and women in and out of prison system without a chance to succeed. The number of prisons in America has quadrupled since 1980, and we have spent 6 times more on prisons than on higher education. Is this the kind of message we want to send to our children? What is your stand on, or what proposals you have? Because Georgia ranks, I believe, number 3 or 4 as far as incarceration and within the youth. So where do you stand, or what's your views on how we can correct this issue? Thank you.
I am a proponent of empowering young people to be productive citizens. We can't just expect the school systems to do it. We have to provide some mechanism through the community, through the churches. Years ago, we used to have after-school funding, and people went to crying about, well, we don't want our tax dollars to go to funding after-school opportunities for young folks. But if you don't service them while they're young, you will have an increase in the prison population. You will have kids that's going astray because they have not been taught. They are part of their everyday experiences. And if they don't have good experiences, if all they see is violence and drug dealing, then that's who they grow up to be. But we have got to, as a society, empower young folks to be the best that they can be. And the schools just can't do it by themselves. We got to do it as a community.
Yeah, that's a big question you got there, and every state's dealing with overcrowding of prisons and county jails. And our kids are the most important thing. We've got to reach out through different programs, after-school programs, getting them on the softball fields, baseball fields, football fields, and stepping up for these single moms who are, their husbands have walked out and left them there with kids and don't come around. And over the years, I've done it myself. I like to take people like that and I get involved with the kids and try to encourage them to play sports or take them fishing, because we got to keep them off the streets. But the largest amount of overcrowded prisons and jails in the state are actually individuals with mental problems. And they get dumped on the sheriff's department and they get held there for a long time because they have no place to go. And that's why our prisons are so overcrowded. If we could look at some way of getting some of these folks moved from incarceration and get them to rehab centers, or get them to places like down in Columbus where they can see to it they're getting their medicine, they're being treated, and maybe be taking a little bit more care of them, we would have more room in the jail systems, for those that actually need to be there.
Actually, that's 17% of the prison population that have some type of mental challenges, and we do need to create some mechanism so that they can receive services. We've made accommodations to have some mental courts where people who seem to have some mental distress can go in and they can receive some services rather than being placed in the jail. So that might help alleviate the overcrowdedness of the jails.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, our next question. I hear middle class all the time. It seems everyone below middle class is forgotten. If elected, what would you do to help people who are disabled, retired, or live on fixed income? So right now, what things would you provide for those that are retired, fixed income?
I went first, man.
Mr. King.
Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot to learn when we get to the house there, but there's programs already out there that need to be pushed for these people to know that they can take advantage of them. There's senior citizen programs, there's Meals on Wheels. As far as to be able to stand here tonight and go, what can we actually do? That's where it comes to getting somebody up there with a business mind and cut the budget so we can have the funding that we need to put in these different categories. But was there 2 parts? Read that question to me again, I'm sorry.
Well, basically, we wanted to know what would you do to help people who are disabled, retired, or living on fixed income? And then we also wanted to, I think in there, like the veterans. What programs do you feel like would be helpful to help these
Well,
individuals?
there's programs already out there. We just need people to start putting more initiative on it and drive to get people awareness of it. It's not, neither one of us is going to go to Atlanta and create these new programs. The programs are there. It's a matter of working close with your community and helping different ones be aware of the programs and what's available and get them there. If you got disabled ones, that's where the NAACP and our local churches and just like we started in Meriwether County Awareness Group. I'm the vice chairman on that one there. That's where you have to work together to go out and find these ones in your community that need the help. And they're not going to be able to help themselves, so we've got to be there to help them. And as far as my veterans, I always say this when I go around, and I wish everybody would do this, but since 9/11, everywhere I go, if I ever see a soldier in uniform in a restaurant, I pick up the tab. I buy their meal for them. I've been doing that since 9/11 took place. And I just feel that's one way we can pay people back for serving our country. And even when I was flying out of Atlanta Airport to Cody, Wyoming one year to go hunting, there was 21 sitting at Houlihan's table. And I just knew I couldn't break that thing I've been doing here. You know, I thought it might bring me some bad luck. But anyhow, I picked up the tab for all 21 of them and told them good luck and have a safe trip. So let's always take care of our veterans and the soldiers that are active today.
Right.
There are programs ongoing in the state for veterans, for senior citizens, but they are part of the cut. We went from a $19 billion budget down to a $16 billion budget. So everybody had to bear some blunt end. Years ago, Lutherville has a senior citizen home, a senior citizens facility. I was part of the process of going through surplus property, helping them get transportation so that they can move back and forth, go down to Columbus and pick up some surplus goods. But we have tried our best to help our senior citizens along the way. One of the biggest issues that face senior citizens is health care. Being able to get health services when they need it, where they need it, and how they need it. A lot of people seems to be selfish in that mold of who ought to have services and what health care ought to look like. But I think everybody in America should be afforded some kind of health care.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is our last question, and after that, we're going to go to the questions for the general public. I would like to know, how do you feel about raising taxes, and how do you plan to keep government costs down so that taxes may not have to be raised? I love the question. I know.
No, I like that.
Raising taxes has not really been on the agenda for the last 10 years in the Georgia House of Representatives. There has been some maneuvering going on where fees have been raised. Fees to go in the state park, fees to go hunt, buy your hunting and fishing license, fees for your driver's license. Those have been roundabout efforts in raising the costs to the citizens. That's not really part of the agenda or the discussion in Georgia. I like to see everybody have a quality of life without the imposition of government on them. But government does have a role. Government has a role in your life and in my life. And we just need to make sure the government fulfills those roles and don't go out and misdirect or redirect proceeds for unnecessary programs.
I can assure you, if I have the opportunity to serve you, the folks here tonight in the House, I'm tired of taxes. I've worked hard. I'm a businessman for 30 years. I'm tired of paying in taxes, and we don't see much in return. I will not vote for any kind of tax increase at the House, especially with the recession going on in the state of Georgia. And also, I don't like what the party, even though the majority of the House is Republicans, a lot of issues they are passing by and taking a deaf ears on it and turning it back to the local county commissioners and government to deal with it. And the only reason they're doing that is they don't want to look bad, because in order for them to do it, they're going to have to raise taxes. So instead of just dealing with it and being honest and straight up with it, they're passing it down to the local government and then letting them be the bad guys here, or the ones that have to raise taxes to try to make whatever the program or whatever what the issue is, take place of it. But I will never raise taxes, vote to raise taxes. And just to show you right here, on March 5th, 2008, House Bill H.R. 796, property tax assessment cap. to cap the allowable increase in property tax assessment and to eliminate all ad valorem taxes on motor vehicles. Mr. Carl Vaughn has voted no against that. I can assure you, anytime they're trying to raise taxes while I'm in the House, I will never vote to raise taxes until we have proven that they've cut everything in that budget that can be cut and keep from raising taxes.
Mr. King actually made a contradictory then, because what happened was when they voted to cap that, they voted to tell the locals how far they could go with taxing. I heard from every county commissioner that I know of, every tax commissioner that I know of, to say, don't vote for that. You're gonna make it so bad for us that we're gonna have to raise taxes in another mechanism, by another means. So sometimes you got to listen to the folks that have been elected locally to help you make your decision. You can't just cut and say, I'm not doing this, I'm doing this. No, that's not the way government works. That's not the way being an elected official works. So I listen to my local elected officials.
Thank you. Okay, at this section of the debate, we're going to start asking the questions that you all have given us. If there's anyone who's not put their question in this that wants to, I see one. Okay, all right. Because your questions are so good and we want to make sure that they really get a chance to explain their view on this, we're going to ask you, is it okay they have 2 minutes? Everybody's okay with that? Okay. I hear heads nodding, so I guess this is fair. Okay, all right. All right. At this time, candidates, these are questions from the audience. And so they've all agreed to give you a little bit more time. So we're going to give you 2 minutes to answer, and then after each, and these questions we're going to try to make, there's some that are written out for direct to each candidate, and we'll try to get to those last, but these other questions are general, okay? The first question we have is, please share with us your most memorable business achievement. And I think Mr. Epps is up, so.
I thought I went first last time.
It doesn't make a difference.
My most memorable business achievement probably has to do with helping somebody along the way. It would have something to do with some program, some after-school program that we were able to implement to make a difference in the lives of some people. You may see that as a nonprofit business, but it's still a business. You're about the people's business when you help them. So my most memorable business achievement probably happened in 1998 when we received state funding and federal dollars to set up an after-school program that existed for 12 years.
I'm a little confused on that as far as you're considering a business achievement through the state legislation and tax dollars.
It's a nonprofit, was what I said.
Okay. All right. Like I said, I've been in business 30 years, and I guess the most memorable achievement, I guess I would say I have in the 30 years of being in the concrete business is finally getting to that level of financial stability to where when they started calling and asking me to help with the Habitat for Humanity homes, I was able to go out there with crews and pour Habitat for Humanity homes in Coweta County. And I've done some over in Pike County, and then being able to pull the people together for that, and then being able to sponsor local Little League teams and so forth is just the hard work and efforts of getting up there to where you can afford to give back to the people. I don't know if I could pick one memorable moment. I've got so many of them, and I'm so blessed that I've been able to help the community for the last 30 years, or at least the last 20 years. Everybody seems to call upon me and ask for help, and I'm always there for them. So I've got too many to try to pick one out and remember, but that's just on a business level.
One of my favorite sayings is, you make your living by what you give. You make your life by what you give. If you give back and help somebody along the way, whether it's profitable or non-profit, you've helped somebody, and that's what I've tried to do.
Thank you, gentlemen. The next question is, what is the difference between a career politician and a career businessman?
I'm gonna say the difference between a career politician is he's working with somebody else's money, and sometimes they get a little bit too relaxed. But as a working businessman, and with the recession that we've had for the last 4 years, y'all all know, unless you're doing something right, unless you're making decisions, a businessman has to be able to dot all the I's, cross the T's, stay within a budget, stay within his means. We get these government folks up there for years that just keep spending and spending and spending, and then they go, well, it's all right, we'll just ask for some more. Well, see, I can't do that in my business. I can't just give all my guys a raise. I can't, just go out and buy new vehicles and so forth, and then go around and ask all my neighbors to start giving a little bit extra that week into the pot. So as business-wise, I don't know how many people are here, business folks are entrepreneurs like myself, but to start a business from a ground up, my own parents even told me, they said, I asked for $500 to buy some tools and stuff with, and they just said, I don't know if you know enough about doing a business or not, son. And well, like I said, it's 30 years later.
Yes, sir.
And I'm respected throughout the whole Coweta County area. When NBHA, National Barrel Horse Association, came to me and asked me to take over the state of Georgia, they're the world's largest equine barrel racing association. I said, I'd be glad to take that challenge. Well, I was only there for 5 years, and because after 5 years I couldn't go up, I outdid the world show. I was putting state shows on in the state of Georgia with $20,000 added, giving away 3 horse trailers, 14 saddles, 20-some buckles. I increased the membership in the state of Georgia from 385 to 892. In that 5 year, I was selected out of the whole United States and Canada as the state director of the year for my achievements. And I tell everybody at all those events I went to, I didn't do it, is I always surround myself with a team. No one individual can be the number one or get it done, but if you pick a good team, you'll win every time.
I've had some wonderful experiences in business, and my career has been as a business person in some form or fashion. A career politician is probably one who makes his entire living as a politician, like the congressman or the U.S. senators or the governor or some of those folks who have that's all they have made their living doing. I have made my living in so many different facets. Government has not been a living for me. It's been a cause to help somebody along the way. And I can't reiterate that enough. Being a Methodist minister, I know that folks are hurting. I hear from them every day, and I try to help them get through whatever life's troubles are passing their way. So my job, politically, economically, socially, is to help somebody.
Just to remind everybody where I stand on going to the State House, I am not looking to be a career politician. I hope I don't sit there and tell y'all I've been there 20 years. I'm hoping I can go there and make a difference and maybe move on up the chain, but I'm not looking to be a career politician. I'm looking to take common sense, business-minded thoughts to Atlanta to help them understand that they need to run the state of Georgia just like a businessman has to run his business, and the money is limited, and you got to live within your means. But I have no intention of being a career politician. I think that's what's wrong with our country today. We've had too many people there for too long, and it's time to have somebody with enthusiasm and ideals, and that's what helps this country.
Okay, our next question from the audience. How will you make yourself visible and available to citizens of this district?
Well, my number is public. We have an office in Atlanta that's being manned by staff each and every day. I receive calls through them. I receive communications through the email. If I don't call you back today, I'll call you back tomorrow, or whenever I'm aware that you have tried to communicate with me. Again, I say I'm about helping folks. It ain't about me. It's about helping those that elect me and those that don't elect me. I'm trying to help folks. Oftentimes I'm called into a situation and it's too late. But anything world-related, state-related, community-related, I know folks. I know folks in the state government, I know folks in federal government, I know folks in local government. I'm respected because I respect folks. I don't go there creating any rifts. They got jobs to do, I have a job to do. I give them their dues and they respect me in return.
I believe I'll always be available on the local level. When I lived in Coweta County, I was going to commissioners meetings up there. I made the paper all the time where I was fighting for people's rights to be able to afford housing in Coweta County when they wanted to say the square footage had to be this much or the acreage had to be this much. I told them many a times, why do y'all have the right to tell someone that's not as fortunate as others how many acres they have to own? Or they didn't want to let somebody split their acreage up and a man give his daughter 2 acres next door to him. So I've been fighting for 20-some years for the rights of people around here. And if I'm elected as state representative, my number is always available. And I've heard in the past that some of our legislators, when they're asked to come out to our county and help us out, and we got issues with commissioners, we get the impression or get told that their business is in Atlanta. But we're only up there 3 months out of the first part of the year, unless you're on a committee. But I can assure you, from Troup County to Coweta County to Meriwether County, any commissioners we're having problems with or issues that y'all need me to step there, I will be there in the meeting. If it's a city council meeting you want me to come attend to see what I can do on a state level to help you on a local level, I'll be at that meeting. My phone is always available. My wife said I'm on it too much already and they're going to bury me. I'm going to have a phone right there. It says my long distance carrier is AT&T, who's yours? You know, because I'm going to take it with me. But I'm there for the people 24/7, and the people in Meriwether County here tonight know just exactly what I've been doing here in the last 2 years for Meriwether County, attending the commissioners meeting and making it clear to them that they need to be honest with the people and tell them why they're raising taxes and tell them why they spent $32 million in infrastructure and spending $3 million of their tax money on something that nobody knows nothing about. Explain to the people why you want to raise your taxes so they understand. Don't just act like they're dumb, you know. So. But yes, I've been there for the community, and I'll never let the idea I'm a state representative, I don't have time to go there. I'll always be where I'm called and where I'm needed.
Okay. The next question. What will be your first order of business if re-elected or elected?
My first order of business when I get there is to smile real big for that picture they're going to take, and then after that, I want to go across the room. I will have a list of every Democrat representative that's in the House, and I want to go straight to them, look them straight in the eye, reach my hand out, and shake hands and tell them that I'm not here as a party. I'm here as a team player. And even though the majority of the House is controlled by Republicans, it only takes 91 votes to get something done, and we got 117 Republicans up there now. But that doesn't matter. I'm not going with the attitude that we got the say, we got the control, and I can get whatever I want done. I want to go to each one of them to assure them that you call me with anything you feel like we need to be working on, anything we need to move forward together with, and we'll look at it, and we'll work it out, we'll talk it out, and if it's something that needs to go before the Speaker of the House, it doesn't matter if it was a Democrat's idea. If it's a good idea and it's right for the people of Georgia, I will be up there fighting for the Democrats that's bringing that to the table. I can promise you that.
The governor has asked for a 3% budget cuts across the board. I'm on the appropriation committee. I'm on the economic development subcommittee, which oversees the various agencies, including the Ports Authority and Georgia Finance Group. So what I'll be looking at is how those commissions have proposed to cut their budgets. The budgets will be cut according to the governor's directive. So what they've done is they've submitted to the governor's office the proposed budget cuts. And as a committee member, we can go there and adjust and make changes on cuts that we think that are more important than others. So that would be my first order of business, to look at the state budget, because without the state budget, Georgia does not move. The budget is the engine that drives Georgia. And I'm proud to be on that committee. I'm proud to represent you on that committee. I'm proud to get to the table and say, this is not good for the 132nd District. This is not good. This is good. We may consider some cuts here, but as long as the budgets are decreasing, the revenues are decreasing, there will be budget cuts. And we just got to make sure that your voice is heard at the table.
Just to respond to that real quick, like I appreciate him going to make sure if it's a good idea, if it's not, it needs to be cut and so forth. But I just stated 91 votes is all it takes. There's 117 Republican votes. if you really want to send a strong candidate that will have a say, because unfortunately, and I hope they don't disrespect the fellow representatives there, but you can go there and go, I don't like this and I don't like this, and with 91 votes already ahead, they may not really care what you like. But if I go there, I'm part of that 91 vote. I can be a strong voice and listen to everybody there and maybe influence or help my fellow party to see something that others they may not want to, work hand in hand with. So I'm your strongest candidate right now with the majority of the House like it is. And I appreciate Mr. Bonnet referring to 20 years and all these committees. But as we mentioned a while ago about, career politicians, you might want to ask yourself, since this is Coweta, y'all haven't been in this district all this time, but Meriwether County, if he's been there 20 years, what do you see different in the last 20 years? Last night he mentioned that the majority of the House is Republicans and Democrats are down here, so he should be elected to be balanced. But 15 of the 20 years Mr. Bonnet was there, the Democrats had full control. So ask yourself, what got changed? What was made happen for Meriwether County during those 15 years?
Fuzzy math. Democrats lost control of the House in 2004. I went there in '93. 12 years we were in control. When I stayed there 8 years, I was elevated to a chairmanship of one of the 33 standing committees. We had influence. Influence is what I'm talking about. Respect is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about being the loudest engine in the room. My mama used to say, an empty wagon makes a lot of noise. I'm not an empty wagon. I don't make a lot of noise, but people respect me because of what I've done and because I respected them.
Thank you, Joe. I think we're just going to have one more question, and then we'll give you a chance to do a summary of everything. This one is, please name 5 things that provides jobs, public safety, lowering taxes that you have been able to sponsor or co-sponsor. And this would go for Mr. Carver and Epps in the last 10 years. And then we'll have a question that was directed to you, Mr. King.
Okay.
5 things that have what?
It says, please name 5 things that provide jobs, public safety, lowering taxes you have been able to sponsor or co-sponsor in the legislation for the past 10 years.
We have been a part of the solution. It's not always about legislation. We have tons and tons of laws on the book that can't even be enforced. If you're at the table, you're having some civil discussion with the people that's calling the shots. As Mr. King indicated, there are 117 Republicans out of 180 legislators in the Georgia General Assembly. I saw somewhere today where the Democratic candidate for president lost Georgia by only 200,000 votes. There is an imbalance in government. Republicans have the governorship and everything else that's statewide. We don't have control. I've introduced legislation to help folks that was taken because they didn't want to give me credence for introducing that legislation. But I've been a part of the discussion. I've been at the table where the discussion and what I brought to the table was considered. You don't have to be the loudest voice in the room to be respected. And that's what being a legislator is all about. This badge here, 20 years. I've had one every other year for 20 years. Not because of what somebody else wanted me to be, but because I went there to represent you. I was reported favorably after each election cycle. And I asked for your support again this election cycle so that I continue to be the voice that you elect me to be, the sound voice that you elected me to be, the vocal voice at times when it's needed that you've elected me to be, the voice that you need in the Georgia House of Representatives.
Thank you. Mr. King, this question is presented to you. Okay. It says, you are reportedly endorsed by the Common Cause Georgia, which promotes transparency and ethics. Yet you have not filed a single disclosure report with the State Ethics Committee in 2012. How do you explain this apparent discrepancy?
First of all, I don't know who's asking the question. If you'll go online tonight, you'll see, this is new to me. I thought I was supposed to file the financial disclosure and my, the money I have in the account at the same date. So I missed it by a few days, had a phone call, ran up there and paid my $125 fine and said I won't let it happen again. And I filed my financial disclosure. So I don't know when the last time whoever asked the question looked at the site, but I had a phone call given to me right off the bat. And what's really strange about this is one of our own Republican Party members up there sent a letter out, a press release, calling certain ones running for office and ones already in there hypocrites. And I got a phone call that said a hypocrite. So what it was is, see, I signed a pledge that I'll never receive a gift from any lobbyist. I don't want their money. I don't need their money. That's what's wrong with this country. People go there with good ideals, and then when they get up there, when I ran in 2008, I had someone from my own party down here, just, you know, I guess it was party, but he was down from the Capitol, and said, you know, you just worry about winning. Don't worry about talking about you ain't going to cut this, you ain't going to cut that. You just worry about winning, and once you get there, there'll be plenty of lobbyists to take you out to lunch, to slide a check across the table for your next campaign, and they'll help you decide how to vote. Well, when he did that, I told him, you just told the wrong person. Because I was very offended when that took place. So I've gone around and told everybody, I promise you, I will not take money from the lobbyists as a gift or to help influence me. Now, lobbyists do need to have a position there. There's 2,400 bills that come through that house. And they come out there and they help explain what's in that bill and why they want you to vote for it. And if it's a good cause, I'll support it. But I don't need somebody sending me and my wife to Hawaii or to the Braves games or buying me dinner downtown to influence me to vote for them. That's not the way it should take place, and I don't plan to do it. And so I have filed my financial disclosures, but if you'll go online, it's open public record, you'd be surprised that over the 20 years my opponent's been there, he's received over $100,000 in gifts and money out of 20 years' time. And I will never take that. I'm there for the people.
It's amusing when people don't have a footstool to stand on, they try to stand on somebody else's footstool. I might have received some campaign contribution. Gifts, no. Gifts, no. I'm running because you know who I am. I'm running because you know what I've done. I'm not running against him. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he's done in life. But you make your living by what you get. You make your life by what you give. I made my life by giving back to my community. And that's who I am. That's who I am.
I didn't finish what I was talking about there. When the representative, I called him, I think his name was Wilkinson or something like that. I called him up at his house. I didn't get him, but I left a message. But anyhow, he was saying that since I pledged not to take lobbyist gifts, which is an ethics violation, or I consider an ethics violation, and not filing on time, they consider that an ethics violation. So that's how he put me in the same category as calling me a hypocrite. So I made several phone calls and left them on his message machine, and I think y'all would agree with me tonight. I don't know how you can compare filing something late, and I paid my fine, didn't argue about it, to someone receiving gifts. And that's what I was referring to when I called him, how dare you call me a hypocrite, because I've signed a pledge that I will fight lobbyist gifts when I get there, but I filed late. But and with all due respect, if you want the website, but what we're considering gifts is Braves tickets, Hawks tickets, dinner things. Those are all considered gifts, and I sit there and read all those tonight off the website before I came here. So I just think we ought to be fair with the audience that there are gifts involved. It may not be big gifts, but there's a lot of gifts because we have to file all that. Or the legislators, when they receive a gift, they have to record that and file it because that's part of the ethics. And so they are there on the government page.
Thank you, gentlemen. At this time, we're going to wrap it up. They're going to get 2 minutes to do a summary, once again, of the questions that have been asked to you or anything you want to share more that you didn't get a chance to share. But in that summary, we would like you to also inject in that, who is your personal hero?
So this is our closing comments,
Yes.
correct? That's great. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you who my personal hero was for a long time was John Wayne. I'm just a good old country boy. And John Wayne, boy, he's always there and doing what's right and helping people throughout all the Western movies and so forth. But I'm going to be honest and straight up. When Ronald Reagan came along, his picture's on the wall next to John Wayne's now in my office. Ronald Reagan is my hero. Ronald Reagan is what gave me the incentive to get involved with politics when I started. That's probably when I started paying attention to what goes on in local government and politics. And we took this guy that was a businessman. He came in with great ideals. But when I was up at the state capitol the other day, I had an older fella there that's been there probably 20, 22 years also. And he said, "Son, you don't understand how it works up here. It's like putting a bunch of animals in a cage, and the food source is at the top. And as they try to climb to that food source, I guess you're referring to the ones that's been there for 20 plus years or the higher leadership, they take that water hose and they just blow them all back down where they can't get to the top. And after a while, they don't even try to go to the top anymore." And then he goes, all of a sudden come along, there's an election, one of those animals may come out and they send another one in. I guess he's referring to like if I come into the house. He said it doesn't take long, that one gets knocked down too, and the rest of the animals just pull them all down. And after a while, you just got a bunch of folks that just stay at the bottom and don't want to make a difference or doesn't want to try to keep climbing to the top. And I looked at him and I looked at him straight in the eye and I said, "Well, that's the one thing you don't know about me. This guy right here is going to put his wetsuit on. I'm going to the top. I'm not going to be held back." And I tell everybody, if I have to go to the podium in session and tell the Speaker of the House exactly what's on my mind and how I feel about something that represents the people of my district, I will do that. I'm the type that'll walk out the steps that night and Channel 2 News is going to go, "Did you really blah, blah, blah?" And I'm going to say, "You betcha I did," because it's not right what they're doing in there. If it's not right what's going on in the House, you can bet yourself this guy will let you know. But I just want to ask you a few questions here. How many people in here, with the state of Georgia, they all have official this, official that. In the state of Georgia, the official bird is a brown thrasher. And the official flower is a Cherokee rose. How many people here would agree that the official language of Georgia would be English? That's right. Now, I'm just going by my notes here. I pull off the records and so forth here. But on February 26, 2008, House Bill H.R. 413, English as the official language of Georgia. The vote record stood, and Mr. Bonnet voted no against that. I don't understand that, but I would have voted yes for it. I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment right and the protection of our family and our friends. When they were passing a bill that permits Georgia residents to use deadly force to defend themselves or others in personal and public areas, Mr. Carl Bonnet voted no against that, and I'd hate to know that anybody in this audience tonight, whether it's your son or your daughter was being attacked or being raped or being stabbed, that you stepped in and you protected your family and you happened to kill, which this is nothing light, folks. It's never great for someone, I would guess, to take another person's life. It's very sensitive, and I'm not pushing that part, but I'd hate to know that you stepped in to help your family. But yet, instead of having a law to protect you, now the guy you killed or the woman you killed, his family's got rights to come after you because we didn't have laws on the books that gave you that right to protect yourself. So, I am the only candidate here that is fully endorsed by the pro-life, the right to life in the state of Georgia. I will always vote. I will always protect the unborn child. I think everyone should be concerned. There, especially in a lot of the minority groups or the lower income, below mid-class areas in the community. So many young kids are coming up pregnant. And my wife works in the ER, and you would not believe how many come in there that are 15 and 16 years old. She has to ask that question, have you ever been pregnant? Or are you pregnant? And someone's been pregnant 2 or 3 times as a means of birth control. We need to help these kids to understand, one, let them have that child. Somebody will love that child and raise it and teach it about the Lord and teach it about everything in life. And then help them figure out how to have birth control or how to be more responsible. So in 2012, when there was 2 votes that were taken at the House that would have banned abortions after 20 weeks, known as partial birth. Mr. Bonnet wasn't even there for the vote. In 2012, to require drug testing for welfare recipients, Mr. Bonnet voted no against that. I would vote yes for it because if we have welfare recipients that are on taking drugs, it's not so they don't get assistance and hurt their lives. It's so we can reach out to them, get them off them drugs. Because if they're on drugs, the money and stuff that they got coming in is not helping the kids. They use it for other things. We all know that. So let's help those people get rehab, get on the right track.
Thank you. Certainly I want to thank the organizers for their diligence in putting this together. I want to ask a few questions first. English is the official language in Georgia. It's in the Constitution, it's in the code section. The vote that was proposed, House Bill 413, was a vote that says, let's eliminate the communication between the state and its citizens by making it only one mechanism, which is English only. Right now, in the state of Georgia, the Koreans, the Hispanics, can get whatever communications they need through the state in their language. That's all that bill did, was to continue the process. You don't go and spend millions of dollars asking the Koreans to come over and invest millions of dollars and then tell them to come to Georgia, and then you don't provide them any type of communications in their language. They don't know English. They have to learn English. Right foot protection. I think my rights end where yours began. If I go out in the streets with gun, being the old cowboy days, and if I see something and I say, I thought he was doing this, my rights have ended because I don't know what he was doing. If you come into my home, then you've crossed the path. You've crossed into where my rights began. Welfare recipients, welfare on drugs. I think that if we test welfare recipients, we ought to test policemen, we ought to test firemen, we ought to test teachers. You don't discriminate against somebody just because they've hit rock bottom. Just because they aren't doing well, then you say, before you get my money, then you got to be tested for drugs. That's unfortunate. I believe in helping folks. Again, I say, I have a track record. My opponent, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he thinks he can climb up on my back, but I'm not bending it. I ask for your support so that I can continue to be your representative, so I can continue to be your voice, so that I can continue to improve the quality of life here in Georgia. Thank you.
Just respond on drug testing. Most of y'all know here that throughout the state, almost every industry nowadays has random drug testing. My wife works in a hospital, they have random drug testing. My brother-in-law works for the fire department, they have random drug testing. I don't know of almost any corporation, they get a better rate on their insurance, on OSHA, and everything else if they show they do random drug testing. So what the people are saying and what I support, and I'll support it, I don't want to hurt nobody rock bottom. I give them the shirt off my back and help anybody. But if the same people that are getting up every morning, working all day, these single moms dropping kids off at daycare, working another job, working a second job, all these people that are working to make a living and pay taxes so their tax dollars can help those who've hit rock bottom, if they have to take a drug test and take a chance of losing their job, all we're saying or we're asking is you want the ones that are getting the handout to show that they really appreciate it and they want it and they're not going to waste the money on drugs. But it's never to hurt somebody that's rock bottom. It's to show them that that money was there to help feed them, help take care of the kids, not help them go down the street and buy something with it. And so I'm just saying, I don't want to leave a impression I think the rock bottom we can't care about. I think we got to work hard to get everybody in this state back together and give them a better life. And that's just one way to do it. It's sad. I've learned a lot through my wife in the ER, and there's so many kids coming through there. They're in their 20s. They're in their 20s, folks, and 75% that come through there are on Medicaid. They got a back that hurts. Their hip hurts. They're on Medicaid. And they're only 20-some years old, and you got to ask yourself why. What led them to that? What lifestyle led them to that? We need to help these kids understand that motivation, drive, and working, you can be something for yourself. You can start your own business. You can go to the top. Don't take no. Don't let anyone get in your way. And I promise you, I do not need to climb on nobody's back to get something done and make something happen.
The bottom line on drug testing, there was some constitutional concerns as far as how we went about, if we went about actually trying to drug test only welfare recipients. Again, I say I'm State Representative Carl Von Epps. I've served the General Assembly for the last 20 years. I've done my best. Most folks will give me accolades. Most folks will say, I don't see how you do it. And so oftentimes, I don't know how to do it. But if it was not for the strength that the Lord gives me from day to day, to get up, to keep running, to keep making a difference, to keep helping folks, I don't know how I would do it either. So I thank God for His presence in my life. I thank you for your attention at this forum, and I just ask for your vote for November. It's the first Tuesday in November to be your state representative. One more time.
Let's give the candidates a hand, please.